We're on air, show 76.
And what happened last night? What was your impressions of what we saw?
Well, we had a family night at the theatre, meaning our big screen monitor, and a collection of Hitler speeches.
Now, was there any speech there that you didn't agree with?
Absolutely not. We listened to a couple of hours of speeches throughout his career. He was a man, he was a father to the people. He was educating them, and he made it really clear that that's what his purpose was, to raise up Germany so that they would aware. And he said that the youth, he was doing it for the youth, the education, his education, it was the future for the generations after the youth that were listening to him. He was amazing, absolutely amazing. He spoke articulately with love and compassion, a great deal of intelligence and understanding. Because as a child, within the first chapters of Mein Kampf, if you care to read it, it talks of his childhood and his passions and loves, and he always loved history, and he had a profound love for Germany from a child. And as he studied history, it was his love for Germany that he knew somehow he had to change the course of Germany, because even as a teenager he could see where it was heading. And of course, as he was growing up, Germany was oppressed. It went through World War I, was lured into World War I, and it was designed to smash Germany, because Germany was always the threat to the Zionist agenda, the protocols of Zion, the Jew world order. So they had to smash Germany, and that's what Churchill was quoted as saying years later with the run-up to World War II, years before it actually started in 1939, when England declared war on Germany because Hitler, saying to the demonocracies operating at the time, "What are you doing about the slaughter of the German people in the Danzig that had been annexed to Poland through the Versailles Treaty after World War I, not to mention all of the reparations that Germany was forced to pay through the Versailles Treaty, which was all designed to smash Germany." And Churchill said, if Germany dares to raise itself from the ashes, this is of World War I, then we will smash it. And of course that's what was happening. And it was because Hitler was able to inspire the people. I'll try to stop thumping the desk. Hitler was able to inspire the people. That was his greatest gift. He was filled with love and compassion, and he was divinely inspired to raise up all of Germany out of the ashes. He inspired the youth. He inspired the adults. They got working. He brought in the policies that created 6 million jobs for fathers to be able to go to and provide for their families. Mothers could remain at home and raise the children as German children. So he was a man who was born instinctively with all of the teachings of the cauldron within him. He was a real man, and he was able to pass it on and inspire the multitudes. And as they grasped a hold of his vision, of course, the energy from that's why since Hitler, the entire world has been divided. It has been struck down and divided and isolated. Households and individuals isolated, stuck on computers, one-on-one with a machine, destroyed intellectually, demoralized through the filth that Hitler knew came through the Jews, because Germany was a mess. it was demoralized. It was filled with the worst kind of evil sin. He called it what it was. It was filth, the pornography, the arts, the culture, the theatre that had been infected and become this...
Homosexuality was the biggest movement.
What was that?
Homosexuality.
Yes. And Hitler countered all of that. He raised the nation up to take back their morality, their Christian ideals, which is what the Jew hates because they can never attain to it. It's not within them. So he filled the people with inspiration and honour. He gave them back their honour after the demoralising of World War I, the snare that they were dragged into by the demonocracies. Democracy has never worked. This is why it is their flag. And anybody spouting off about democracy, you know who it is, which side they are working for Satan. Doesn't matter whether it's a mother in the street or a father going to... If they're spouting off about democracy, they are deluded. The reason that kings were anointed over their nations was for the reasons that we talked about yesterday or the day before. A righteous king has, call it whatever you like, favour with God, the divine right of kings. He has that. It's God-given. It is when the king himself strays from the path of righteousness, strays from the path that will bring benefit to all of his kingdom because of who he is within. That's when kingdoms themselves are at peril. But Hitler rose up as that king. He was a king. He was a noble man in every thought, word and deed, and he could communicate it to inspire all of the German population to be the very best that was within them, and right unto death. That's what he was able to do, and that's why they became the power that they were under him. Today's societies, doesn't matter whether it's Muslim, Christian, they cannot possibly reach that. There is no unification. There is no unity amongst them. Everybody is spread across the board trying to survive because the Jews have made it so difficult with the money supply. As people in the West are trying to survive, going about their lives, being fed poisons in their food and their water, breathing the air, they've become toxic waste dumps.
When we did the water, and we've got the evaporator.
Yes, we have a distiller and water out of the tap. And for the first time, we've had this distiller for some time. For the first time, when I opened after emptying the second batch, not only was it black, it was almost like a syrup on the bottom, but there was a residue all over the lid, the part which is whistly. That's the part that's whistly clean usually, because that's where the distilled water rises and then is forced through the spout to be captured as it's condensed. But this was covered with crap, a sticky, gooey crap from the town water supply. So we did another batch that was left over from the fish tank that Yah put copper and silver rods in, and we haven't been using it for a while. We did another batch using that water, and it was much, much, much cleaner. There was nothing left on the lid, and the bottom residue was minimal. So that's
like water.
That was water out of the lake. You had already treated it, and yeah, so it came out fine. But it was a shock to see all of this garbage over the lid.
So they've suddenly increased the horrors that they're putting into water.
Oh, they have to be. Something's going on, that's for sure.
Well, we've been condensing the water for a while.
Yes, a long time. It's never, ever left a residue on the lid on the inside where the distilled water, where the steam rises and condenses.
And that's only out of about 8 to 9 litres of water? How many litres of water is that in that container?
5.
5 litres. So
Yes.
we have 2 times, that's 10 litres.
Mm.
We end up with a cupful of this brown, black grunge out of 10 litres of water.
Yeah, oh, yes. Yeah.
That you would normally be eating, right?
Drinking, yeah. Drinking or eating, with cooking with it. Yeah, we use the distilled water to cook with. We have the reverse osmosis, remineralized alkaline water to be drinking. Yeah, so Hitler was absolutely spot on, and is why he has been demonized, and why Europe, most countries in Europe are not allowed to speak of him. He was absolutely right. And what he prophesied, Jesus, we shall forbid Christ. We shall forbid Hitler. We shall forbid Christ.
So what would be your take on if Hitler knew about me? What would he say?
What took you so long? Yeah, absolutely. Hitler prophesied going into World War II, and in the midst of it, this is one of his speeches, in the midst of it, that if the Jews bring about a third war like the one that they were fighting, then that would be the absolute end of Jewry throughout Europe, because of the awareness of the people. And he had no knowledge then of the internet, the way information spreads, cyberspace like lightning flashing east to west through fibre optics, and the awareness of the people. So he was speaking prophetically, and that's how it's happening all around the world as the nations are awakening. And they are saying Hitler was right. He said that his spirit would rise from, he hoped that his spirit would rise from the grave and the world would know that he was right. Well, they do know that he was right, and his spirit is definitely alive.
So, he's certainly alive in me.
He's alive in a lot of people. People are waking up all around the globe.
Yeah, also someone was saying that they mentioned me, that Christ is back. And I said, oh yes, we know. Yes,
Andy was saying that coincidentally he's talking to people and they know that Christ is back and they know your name, which is the awareness, what it's all about, because we are in this time where the Spirit of God is poured out upon all flesh. So what are we saying? We are saying that Hitler had the Spirit of God with him, the Spirit of, it was the God within him, which is just like the Spirit of God, Brian Leonard Golightly Marshall, the one who did not turn the other cheek. He recognized the enemy, gave every opportunity for the enemy to repent, and when the enemy does not repent but continues upon their lying, murderous, treacherous, filthy ways, then the enemy has to be dealt with.
Well, what do you do if you've got cancer?
Cut it out.
You cut it out. You kill it and cut it out. So how do you kill cancer if you don't cut it out? In the food that you eat. You treat it with the chemicals that they have taken away from it. Borax, for example.
Well, the body today that we are, everybody is doing their best to eliminate the cancer-causing toxins. There was a photograph on Facebook of a man, huge. He looked like he weighed 1,000 pounds. There are a few of those people upon the planet, and the sign over it was McDonald's. Well, this is how the Middle Eastern nations and Russia view the West, America, McDonald's. What do they look like? Pigs, all of them. And it is a crime It's a crime against humanity for doing it in the first place. However, it's a personal crime, if you like. The body is supposed to be the temple of God. Now, I would expect that anybody in their right mind, and we know, look, you can make every excuse under the sun. The bottom line is, it comes back to the Colburn. It's about personal responsibility, self-government, governing thyself, and taking responsibility for your own health. The doctors are there to kill you. They are mostly Jews. So are the psychologists, the psychiatrists, the dentists even. They've been trained in these institutions that foment the propaganda and the will of an evil entity. Personal responsibility for your own body, your own temple, keeping it clean.
Well, isn't it in the protocols of Zion that they wanted to encourage all of the Jews to become doctors, lawyers?
Yes, that was the Nihilist. That was in the Nihilist report, the run-up to the actual protocols, but the Nihilist report, yes, the conversations. We will become doctors and lawyers and get to them that way. And that was 400 years ago.
No doubt.
They have, absolutely. Our own doctor here, what a joke, Nigerian. It's one thing to be educated. You can be educated in and out of your yin-yang. So what? Doesn't make you intelligent. As a matter of fact, it makes you on the low rung of the totem pole when it comes to common sense and intelligence. Love is intelligence. The highest form of intelligence. It is love. So no more excuses for anybody listening. The information is available today, and keeping the body clean is eliminating the foods that are filled with toxic processed poisons, all of the kosher food. It's all about a tax for the rabbis. Just because it's kosher doesn't mean that it's good. As a matter of fact, I was dumbfounded when somebody was going on about only eating kosher food, and then you take a look at what is kosher, which is practically everything, because it's only about the tax going to the rabbis. It's no different to other food. Still poison, processed poison. Good clean water, simple organic foods, your green leafy vegetables. Difficult to do nowadays, yes. However, there is usually always a source of things that you can do to eliminate it. Nobody should be eating the polyunsaturated seed oils. They attack the thyroid. Soy is the worst product on the earth for the human body. It was never ever intended for human or animal consumption. It was only ever good as crop rotation because it put nitrogen into the soil. You've only got to look at the bean to see how ugly it is. It has 38 deadly toxins to the body which cannot be completely removed even after 5 years of fermenting, and nobody does that anymore. Your soy sauce in America, it's a joke. It's a chemical. All things soy, get rid of it. Virgin coconut oil.
But it's also your emulsifier, so...
Yes, it is. It's in everything. You've got to read the labels and just go back to eating homegrown vegetables if you can get them.
Raw.
Yes, raw for the most part, but that's difficult for a lot of people. I can't eat certain things raw. The enzyme activity in them sets me off, puts me in hospital. And there are certain vegetables that need to be broken down. It's the cellulose content in them, and so steaming them helps to do that. So if you've got a computer, then the information is there. So back to Hitler. He was a vegetarian. Hitler was a vegetarian. I remember years ago reading this list of it was a list. As it turned out, it was listing the qualities, if you like, of Hitler, but it was unknown. That was anonymous. And then listing the character. Well, they weren't qualities. It turned out to be Churchill. I mean, he was a cheat, a counterfeiter. He was a drunkard, smoked his cigars as fat as can be. He had no control over his own finances. His lifestyle was paid for by the Jews for 9 years before they put him into power, so he owed them big time. And he counterfeited paintings. He signed himself off as the master. So when you compare the two, and at the end of it, before waking up, this was years ago, long time ago, when the whole world thought that Hitler was the demon, it was a shock. Like, this is Hitler. However, all of his personal habits were excellent. And the other demon that the world was revering, they were the habits of a demon. Slothful, filthy habits. A demoralizing entity. A typical Jew. Filth. There's no point sugarcoating it. This political correctness, because it's the Jews who control our speech now, especially in America. You've got to call it for what it is. As Jesus, he did. Vipers. What makes you think you're going to escape the damnation of hell? Well, what's a viper? It's a snake. These are the serpent people. Speaking of which, I've got the document that Joel had, the PDF, their propaganda, the language to use. It's 116 pages, but you'll get the drift of this, and then you'll understand why anybody who's come across trolls, as we do, all the time, against us, then this is the language, this is their script. It's extraordinary. And we all knew it existed, but it's
basically how to speak when you're speaking to a non-Jew.
That's right. Now, it's called the Israel Project for Security, Freedom and Peace. The Israel Project's 2009 Global Language Dictionary. And there you are with the Israeli flag, and then a group of children all holding hands, dancing underneath. And then underneath that you have the USA, the German and the British flag. Looks like the French flag as well. So, just a preface I'll go through. 25 rules for effective communication. Chapter 2 is a glossary of words that work. Chapter 3, how to talk about Palestinian self-government and prosperity. Chapter 4, isolating Iran-backed Hamas as an obstacle to peace. Now, what's his name? No, in the USA. Ron Paul. He got up in the parliament and just said, well, Hamas is a product of Israel. Hamas was the opposition that was beginning to raise up, and Israel sat back and financed it and said, well, we really need you, because at that point in time, it was to destroy the very strong backing that the PLO had. So Hamas was allowed to raise up and funded, if you like, by Israel to be the counter voice to the PLO. And of course, Yasser Arafat, they did him in. And now Hamas has become the people's protection, the people's only protection. Their only army, if you like, as pathetic as it is. They are inspired to fight with everything within them to protect the Palestinian people. And so they're dinky little rockets that are actually toys compared to the bombs, the tanks, and the utter cowards that Israel is, and the IDF, those men within the IDF. It's it's like the gridiron players in the USA, all decked out with their body padding and their helmets and guards and all kinds of things. You know, it's a bit of a joke here in Aussie when you play Aussie football here and there's no padding, there's no protection, it's just all brawn. Well, here you've got the IDF decked out and arresting children with their AK-47s or whatever they are at the head of a child, 9 years old. The child's got more guts than the idiot behind the rifle. Well, this is what the idea, they're all cowards. The language of tackling a nuclear Iran, Israel's right to self-defense and defensible borders. Now, peace, the central message, settlements, Jerusalem, loan guarantees, and military aid. So it goes on and on. These are some of the chapters. This is a personal message from the author. I wrote my first language dictionary for the Israel project in 2003. Since that time, Israel has had 3 prime ministers, several stalled peace initiatives, found itself the victim of attack from its northern and southern borders, and has suffered greatly in the court of public opinion. Now, this is the court that they are courting, the court of public opinion. And thank God they are losing big time and they know it. So this latest one is still 5 years old. On the other hand, the daily suicide bombings have stopped, and Hamas and Hezbollah have shown themselves to be the brutal terrorist organisations that Israel has warned about. The more things change, the more they stay the same. All of the material in this document is new or updated based on research conducted in 2008 and 2009. Research is the opinion polls of the American public as they phrase their questions. What figures do they get? What percentages do they get? As they monitor the temperature.
Do you really think that's accurate?
No, but this is what they go off. It's all aimed at the American public. Now, they regard... okay, so that guy is Dr. Frank Luntz. And then on behalf of our board and team, we offer this guide to visionary leaders who are on the front lights of fighting the media war for Israel. We want you to succeed in winning the hearts and minds of the public. We know that when you achieve your mission, that you are helping both Israel and our global Jewish family. Thus, we offer these words with our sincerest wishes for your every success. May your words help bring peace and security to Israel and the Jewish people. Sincerely, Jennifer Laszlo Mizrahi, founder and president of the Israel Project. Number 1, persuadables. So persuadable. Who's a persuadable? Well, it's you or I, if we don't have any opinion one way or the other about a particular subject. You're able to be persuaded. So, how many out there listening to us are persuadables? I hope none of you are. I hope by now that you've listened to us often enough that you cannot be persuaded otherwise about who the enemy is and who the Christ is today and why he is here. So persuadables won't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Show empathy for both sides. Now remember, we talked yesterday that an actor is a hypocrite, or a hypocrite is an actor. So here they are, show empathy for both sides. Here they have to act because they don't have it. The Jews do not have compassion or empathy. This is what makes them distinct from those made in the image of God. To be moved with compassion as Jesus was, as Brian was, as Jesus, and in this life, to be moved is an action to do something, and it's compassion that brings about the action to do something about a situation. Okay, so the goal of pro-Israel communications is not simply to make people who already love Israel feel good about that decision. The goal is to win new hearts and minds for Israel without losing the support Israel already has. To do this, you have to understand that the frame from which most Americans view Israel is one of, quoting, cycle of violence that has been going on for thousands of years. Thus, you have to disarm them from their suspicions before they will be open to learning new facts about Israel. Nobody wants to learn anything about Israel except waking up on the morning and hearing the news that it has been obliterated.
It's coming.
Am I right?
Absolutely.
This is what it is all. This is the only thing that the world who is awake wants to learn about Israel. It has been obliterated. And every Jew around the planet no longer exists, like a vapor vanished in the wind. There's actually a scripture about that.
If there isn't, I'll make one up.
There it is. It's in Isaiah somewhere, I'm pretty sure, or the Psalms. Okay, so the first step to winning trust and friends for Israel is showing that you care about peace for both Israelis and Palestinians, and in particular, a better future for every child. Indeed, the sequence of your conversation is critical, and you must start with empathy for both sides first. Open your conversation with strong, proven messages such as, quoting, Israel is committed to a better future for everyone, Israelis and Palestinians alike. Israel wants the pain and suffering to end and is committed to working with the Palestinians toward a peaceful diplomatic solution where both sides can have a better future. Let this be a time of hope and opportunity for both the Israeli and the Palestinian people. Have you not just heard a whole bunch of doublespeak? These Jews who call themselves Jews and are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan, they are now admitting that they are the Ashkenazi. That's where the Nazis are the Ashkenazis, the Jews. They are Khazars. They are the devil. The devil is operating through them. And at the very top of the heap, you have the Rothschild scum and filth. I've said it before and I'll say it again that the Christ was reborn onto Rothschild Avenue for a reason, identifying the leader, the head guru, the head maggot in the pit of hell. They have made this world the putrescent body that Hitler identified. Use empathy. Here we go. Even the toughest questions can be turned around if you are willing to accept the notion that the other side has at least some validity. If you begin your response with, I understand, and I sympathise with those who, you are already building the credibility you will need for your audience to empathise and agree with you. Indeed, if the heart of your communications is a chorus of finger pointing, of Israel is right, they are wrong, hello, then you will lose more support for Israel than you will gain. Some people who already support Israel may nod their heads and say, way to go. But people who are not already supportive of Israel will be turned off. Well, I've got news for all those people who are saying to Israel, and I know that I am talking to the majority of the deluded, devoured Christian West. For all of you who are standing with Israel, sucking up every word that the idiot Netanyahu, the rabid dog, is spewing on behalf of Israel to all of you, the way to goers, then you are going the way of Israel and Netanyahu. You who are waiting to be raptured off the earth, taken out of the way of what is to come, you are on the same boat as Netanyahu and the Jews who call themselves Jews and are not. You do not inherit the kingdom of God. You are an anathema. You have already been spewed out of the mouth of the Christ who is sickened by you. Are we clear on that? All of you Paul-loving and quoting, Messianic Jews included, all of you who have rejected the Christ, who have spoken against the Holy Ghost, Brian Leonard, Golightly Marshall, your angels cannot be fooled. You can fool people around you, including yourself, which is the most deluded, but you cannot fool your angels. The angel of death will remove you because you are not staying on this earth, and you will not be where God is, no matter what you have been indoctrinated with.
They will be where their God is.
Their image of the beast, Lucifer, the homosexual lover of the medieval artist, and Caesar Borgia, the other dude with the dark hair, if it's not the blonde dude with the long locks, then it'll be with Caesar Borgia. And they are not where God is. All right, so this goes on and on and on. Explain your principles. All too often, Arab and Israeli spokespeople go right into an attack against the other. And virtually no one on either side explains the principles behind their actions. Americans respond much better to facts, actions, and results when they know why, not just how. For example, why is there a security fence? Because more than 250 times terrorists have come through that area killing innocent people. Israel is forced to defend its citizens from terrorism, and the fence is part of this defense. And all, this is me speaking, all of the terrorism that has been foisted upon the people living in Israel is brought to them by their own government, their own Mossad. Since 1946, the bombing of the King David Hotel, where 91 British soldiers were killed in the bomb blast, that was Mossad. And every black op since. There's a list. I'll put the link to it.
Twin Towers.
Yes, but we're starting from 1946, and the list that I'll post the link for you. Make a wallpaper out of it, everybody. Perhaps a lot of you have lost people, friends and family, in the terrorist acts since 1946 that Mossad has been bringing not only against the rest of the world, but against its own people within Israel, and then blaming as they do, oh, the poor hapless Arab. Hello? Who was it? The Prime Minister of Malaysia that we listened to last week. No, Matt Thera, or whatever his name was. He's no longer Prime Minister, but the one before. Yeah. He said that Arabs are totally undisciplined. Bottom line is they couldn't organise their way out of a wet paper bag. So all of these terrorist acts that have slaughtered innocent people, including here in Australia, Port Arthur, was it 1994, 1996, whatever, when the demon John Howard was in power, and they blamed some poor hapless mentally ill Martin Bryant. He doesn't even know what a wet paper bag is, let alone organise the slaughtering of, how many people was it, 32?
32 shot in the head.
32 shot in the head from the hip. 2 masked gunmen, Mossad. How about Aceh? The tsunami that took out the hundreds of thousands in Aceh. Hello? We're talking about Mossad, CIA black ops. not to mention the bringing down of the Twin Towers. The world has woken up to that one. Now the link that I'm posting ends at 2008 when the list was compiled. So we've got, 6 years of continuing black ops, including not only Gaza, that is ongoing, has been ongoing. We're talking about the Ukraine now. Why the Ukraine? Because the Ukraine is the area of Khazar, ancient Khazar. And since they were handed the report that the Jews who call themselves Jews and are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan, are not really Jews, oops! It didn't faze Netanyahu one bit. Well, we'll just go back to our real homeland, the Ukraine. This is why in July alone, as they're bombing the shit out of Gaza, 10,000 Ukraine civilians, these are white people, these are Christians, 10,000 of them were slaughtered as their own government, Poroshenko, a Jew, bombed the Ukraine and then blame the pro-Russian rebels. It's the militia, the people's militia, fighting the evil, as again the rest of the world is standing round twiddling their thumbs, going to the United Nations, the idiots there, totally under a spell. That's what it seems like. So it's all about going back to the Ukraine. The distraction, of course, every other incursion that's going on. You've got the genocide that's been happening in South Africa for years. You've got what's going on in Iraq, the slaughter again of innocents and Christians, brought to you by the USA. USA and Israel work hand in hand. Now, according to this document, they're not really happy with, in 2009, not really happy with Obama. He's not really doing what they want them to do, what they want Obama to do. He's far too diplomatic in their book. Wow. All of the drone killings, the arms to Ukraine government, the mercenaries that have been doing their dirty work. So if this is Obama being too soft, no wonder his name, Skull and Bones' nickname, is Undertaker. So I'll move on a little more. It just gets sicker and sicker and sicker, this document. We'll post it up at the Scrib site. Everything is about the Poles. What do Americans? More words that work. This is in bold. The obstacles on the road to a peaceful and prosperous Middle East are many. Israel recognises that peace is made with one's adversaries, not with one's friends. But peace can only be made with adversaries who want to make peace with you. Terrorist organisations like Iran-backed Hezbollah, Hamas and Islamic Jihad are, by definition, opposed to peaceful coexistence and determined to prevent reconciliation. I ask you, how do you negotiate with those who want you dead?
Well, they've got no chance of negotiating with me, I tell you.
Here we go, by their own words. Number 4, there is never ever any justification for the deliberate slaughter of innocent women and children. Never, in capital letters. The primary Palestinian public relations goal is to demonstrate that the so-called hopelessness of the oppressed Palestinians is what causes them to go out and kill children. Now remember, everything that comes out of their mouths is the reverse and a lie. That's the Protocols of Zion. That's their Talmud, their holy book. They must lie. And this is how they may have held the esteem of the American public as far as opinion goes, in the court of opinion, that is quickly changing. This must be challenged is immediately, aggressively and directly. We may disagree about politics and we may disagree about economics, but there is one fundamental principle that all peoples from all parts of the globe will agree on. civilized people do not target innocent women and children for death. So, by the snare of their own words, they are admitting plainly that they are not a civilized people. They have targeted women and children from the beginning. The Jews who call themselves Jews and are not. More than 100 nations they have been evicted on, through history. Judaism, the serpent people's religion, is the enemy of all humankind. It wasn't called Zionism in the days of Jesus, when he condemned them, called them the vipers that they are. How can you escape the damnation of hell, he asked then. And he reiterated, there's not even a question now, it's a statement. You will not escape the damnation of hell. You're almost there. The clock is ticking away.
Well, this is why when we look down at Antarctica, we see that the Earth is tilted over on its side, and that the very, very bright lights coming in that are orbiting the Earth, and it's certainly not the moon because it's happening every few hours. But these bright lights are going over. So now we have in Antarctica, where it should be about an hour and a half sunlight per day, it's hitting 14 hours per day. Hello. It's white light. You can do with a spectrograph what colour the light is, where it's coming from. So white light is a reflected light, similar to moonlight. It's not yellow light, it's reflected. Therefore the light wavelength changes. So what you have then coming around at a very, very rapid clip is, I'd estimate, around 9.42 hours is my closest estimate of something orbiting the Earth. And that's why it's being picked up in the northern hemisphere, because it's coming from the southern, goes across Antarctica, up through the northern hemisphere, and then back down again. And sometimes in the morning it lines up with the sunrise, and you'll see the other planet or planets in the same picture as you have with the sunrise. We're getting that from Rodney. He's come up with some marvellous pictures around the world. There's a lot of bullshit stuff out there too. You know, because this is what the Jews do. They'll come up with all sorts of rubbish and then pose to be some zealot trying to bring truth to the fore for the world to see. And in actual fact, it's just another subversive piece of propaganda. But we have seen it ourselves. We've taken photographs of the very things ourselves, so we can verify that this thing is actually happening. And that's why Antarctica is such an important point. Now today, Antarctica, I'm going to try again now, has been blanked off completely. There was only one out of 5 webcams down there. The only one that was working was the Alfred Wegener Nehemiah 3. That's the main tower down, main building down there. But it has been blanked off as of last night, when I pointed out that it's now getting light there up until midnight. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, right. Well, while you're doing that, I'll just... here's a good one. Be careful of your tone. Oh, this is something that A patronising parental tone will turn Americans and Europeans off. We are at a time in history when Jews in general, and Israelis in particular, are no longer perceived as the persecuted people. In fact, among American and European audiences, sophisticated, now we covered sophisticated yesterday, in other words perverted, educated, in other words unintelligent, opinionated, non-Jewish audiences, Israelis are often seen as the occupiers and the aggressors. With that kind of baggage, it is critical that messages from the pro-Israel spokespeople not come across as supercilious or condescending. I hope I'm sounding supercilious and condescending at the moment, and I hope that my tone irritates the crap out of them. They go on. Words that do work. Achieving peaceful relationships requires the leadership, political, business and military of both sides. And so we ask the Palestinians, stop using the language of incitement. Stop using the language of violence. Stop using the language of threats. You won't achieve peace if your military leadership talks about war. You won't achieve peace if people talk about pushing others to the sea or to the desert. Now, me coming in, which is exactly what, pushing them to the sea. What is left of Gaza now? Nothing but a sliver. As all of Palestine has been pushed to the sea and to the desert, their flag, the sign of the witchcraft, their 666, the six-pointed star, between the two blue lines, that's the Nile and the Euphrates. Well, they've got it now that they've got El-Sisi in their pocket, a Jew, his mother, a Moroccan Jew. How the Egyptians have been duped.
But aren't they childish people?
Oh, completely. Well, they're...
You may as well go to kindergarten because they are so stupid, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, their whole world revolves around money. It's all about money.
Yeah.
Here we go. Israeli knows what it likes to live their lives with the threat of daily threat of terrorism. Yes, from their own government. Won't go there. Anyway, this document is 116 pages. Oh, here we go. Israel made painful sacrifices and took a risk to give peace a chance. They voluntarily removed over 9,000 settlers from Gaza and parts of the West Bank. Well, hello. It wasn't theirs in the first place. Abandoning homes, schools, businesses and places of worship in the hopes of renewing the peace process. Despite making an overture for peace by withdrawing from Gaza, Israel continues to face terrorist attacks, including rocket attacks. It's like throwing a penny bunger. And drive-by shootings of innocent Israelis. Israel knows that for a lasting peace they must be free from terrorism and live with defensible borders. Oh, here we go. This is what they view of... talk about gladiator sports. Listen to this. Number 9. Americans want a team to cheer for. Let the public know good things about Israel. Once you have established that you care about both Israelis and Palestinians and that Israel wants peace, you can begin the process of establishing a strong connection between Americans and Israel based on shared values and interests, including Israel's cooperative efforts with Jewish and Muslim citizens working together to create jobs, cutting-edge technology, science and research. Israel's remarkable advances in alternative energy, the work Israel has done in Arab neighbourhoods and communities to raise health and living standards, including access as full Israeli citizens to Israel's world-class national healthcare system. There was a section here where it talks about Americans already support Israel because their holy book tells them to. Oh, here we go. Number 11, don't talk about religion. Americans who see the Bible as their source book on foreign affairs are already supporters of Israel. Religious fundamentalists are Israel's Amen choir, and they make up approximately 1/4 of the American public and Israel's strongest friends in the world. However, some of those who are most likely to believe that Israel is a religious state are most hostile towards Israel. Unfortunately, virtually any discussion of religion will only reinforce this perception. Now, Israel, Tel Aviv is renowned as the homosexual capital of the world?
Tel Aviv.
Yes, Tel Aviv. Sodom and Gomorrah. We all know what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah. So, it's the... it's the root.
I guess you could say
it's the root of the cancer.
Human trafficking capitals in the world too.
Right.
That's right.
A lot of Russian girls end up there. Palestinian girls.
Therefore, even the mention of the word Jew is many Israel contexts is going to elicit a negative reaction, and the defense of Israel as a Jewish state or Zionist state will be received quite poorly. This may be hard for the Jewish community to accept, but this is how most Americans and Europeans feel. The exceptions are amongst the Orthodox Jewish and evangelical Christian communities. The fact is that evangelical Christians are more supportive of Israel and Israeli policy than almost any other subgroup in America, and sometimes even more supportive than liberal Jews. The primary reason for this is that their religion tells them to do so. You can speak about God to these groups, approximately 1/4 of America, but do not extend your comments about religion beyond that. So kudos, here we go, a rah, rah, rah to the evangelical community within America. I've tweeted them all. They are sick. Disgusting. Spewed out of the mouth of the Christ.
The Jews themselves.
They're worse. We've said it before, they're worse. The Jews know what vile filth they are.
That's true,
Yeah. They're just the hypocrites and the actors. But the Christians, they actually believe it and become their greatest flag-waving, well, what is it? Depart from me, for I never knew you, is what Jesus said he would be saying to the likes of those. Number 12, no matter what you are asked, bridge to a productive pro-Israel message. When asked a direct question, you don't have to answer it directly. You are in control of what you say and how you say it. Remember, your goal in doing interviews is not only to answer questions, it is to bring persuadable members of the audience to Israel's side in the conflict. Start by acknowledging their question and agreeing that both sides, Israelis and Palestinians, deserve a better future. Remind your audience that Israel wants peace, then focus on shared values. Once you have done this, you will have built enough support for you to say what Israel really wants. For the Palestinians to end the violence and the culture of hate so that fences and checkpoints are no longer needed and both sides can live in peace. And for Iran-backed terrorists in Gaza to stop shooting rockets into Israel so that both sides can have a better future. So this bunch of vermin wanting to live in peace, have shared values, what did they do to the Israeli girl recently who stood up? It must have been in America, in an audience. Was it in America? Do you remember? Just a couple of days ago. Israeli girl.
I didn't see that myself. I heard about
Yeah. Well, I was watching the feed on it, and she was being interviewed wearing a neck brace. This young girl stood up where Netanyahu was giving an address, and it looked like, well, the US flag was in the background. It looked like he was addressing the Congress or something. And she happened to be there, and she stood up when he stopped speaking and started to challenge him. And she was knocked down to the ground by the Jewish lobby. They beat her up. She was dragged out. The police arrested and handcuffed her and charged her. And she ended up in hospital, and she was being interviewed with a neck brace on. So this is this wonderful Jewish lobby, this Israeli community that this piece of propaganda here is crapping on about. Talk about the future, not about the past. It's another hope. The expectations for peace are about as low as they can go. This was in 2009. Words that work. Use rhetorical questions, more words that work. Go where the people are. It's got all these statistics. Oh, they love their statistics, their graphs, their polls that they've conducted. Keep it simple, stupid. Avoid analysis paralysis. Focus on the persuadables. The persuadables. Are you a persuadable out there? I hope not. It's not just what you're against, it's what you're for that matters. Goes on and on. 116 pages. Can we get this up as a PDF on the... Is it already there? On the Scrib site?
I'll put it on that Dropbox thing.
The Dropbox.
Yeah, I'll
right.
just sort out the Scrib site because my Facebook got taken.
Oh, right. Okay. All right. Dropbox. We'll have a link to the Dropbox. This is a great piece of work. So I suggest that everybody download it, get it off the computer, download it, and just go through this. Oh, they just love their graphs. Number 6, although Americans support a two-state solution, they are aware that such a solution might create more problems for them and for the world. Building economic prosperity for the Palestinian people. Well, they've just exercised that example, haven't they, in the last couple of months, where they've bombed every building along the Gaza Strip.
They do give them 45-second warning.
They do. The 15-minute and then the 15-second, the knock-knock and then the...
45 seconds.
45 seconds, right.
So you've got to, say, a 3 or 4-storey building with maybe 60, 70 people, old age people to children, and then a bomb hits the top of the building, and that's a warning. You've got 45 seconds to get out. And the chances of you getting out in 45 seconds is 0.
Well, that bomb alone is enough to bewilder the occupants
Absolutely.
and possibly render them unconscious, so it's just a big sacrifice.
And the Jews say it's a fair warning. In actual fact, it's to terrorise.
Yes.
Then they just blow the building to pieces. There's nothing worse on this planet than has ever existed. There's no animal that is worse than a Jew. They are all history, I can assure you. Nothing will save them.
Here's another bit of... Think pro-Palestinian. Quoting, while I have spoken about Israeli casualties, I want to recognise those Palestinians that have been killed or wounded. Right now, we're up to past the 9,000 wounded and past the 2,000 killed. It's probably 10 times that, based on the media protocols that even Press TV has to abide by.
Multiply that by whatever.
Yeah. Because there's suffering as well. I particularly want to reach out to Palestinian mothers who have lost their children. No parent should have to bury their child. And so I say to my Palestinian colleagues, you can stop the bloodshed. You can stop the suicide bombings and rocket attacks. If you really want to, you can put an end to this cycle of violence. If you won't do it for our children, do it for your children. Then underneath that it has effective Israeli soundbite. Oh, let's get right to the end of the document and see what it says on the last page. Oh, let the journey begin. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a first step. This ad works. Now, this has a footprint in the sand, just one footprint in the sand, and this is an ad. This ad works because it represents a call to action and projects a message of progress and hope. The overtly positive tone erodes any suspicion of propaganda. The historic context and reminder that progress begins with individual steps of courage resonates well among elite graduate students. Israel's image as a pursuer of peace is enhanced, and it invites the other side to engage in the peace progress. In brackets, note, when Israel underscores the benefits peace can bring to the Palestinians, both sides win. Oh, here we go. Now it's got all of these little boxes and arrows up to the ad. Israel is taking a historic first step. This reminds me of... did that really happen? Netanyahu stand up at the United Nations with his cartoon Acme bomb.
Oh.
That really, and people sat there and applauded.
See, they always need props, like the one with his iPhone and the air raid siren.
Yeah, it's all they've got elite educated advertising agents showing them how to sell things. So here we go.
Well, he was a salesman.
That's right. Exactly what readers want to hear. This explicitly rejects the cycle of violence that the young elites themselves reject. Articulates hope and shows ongoing commitment. Also, it doesn't attack the other side. Words like voluntarily make an important point in a non-confrontational manner. They're saying what is actually being done. It's so simple and factual. It's focused on now, not the past. Let, that's for the word let with the arrow. It's focused on now, not the past. Let there be light. No, that's my input. It's very, now here we go. We're pointing now at the heel of the footprint. And it's funny because the footprint looks like it's not an impression in the sand. It looks like something that's been laid on the sand. Can you see it? Mm. It's very simple, very positive, and reminiscent of the parable. Oh, you're joking. You're joking.
They're not going to go there.
No, wait on. This is amazing. You know about the poster, the footprints in the sand. It's all about Jesus, yes, right? It's all about you, babe. So it's very simple, very positive, and reminiscent of the parable about the man walking through life and leaving footprints.
But they just can't say his name.
Yeah, the footprints in the sand. Let's get that up as well. That certain man that they cannot speak of.
Smile.
Give us a 407, babe. From 444, certain man. No, that's the 310. No. All right, so that's the last page of this piece of propaganda, 116 pages of it. Have fun, ridicule it, pull it to pieces, print it out, get it around. Everybody have a good laugh. And next time you get trolled by a Jew, paid for through American dollars, then troll them back. Troll them back.
Students, all their youth, they're all getting them online.
Yeah.
Fighting for Israel online.
So I've had, it's 67 minutes. Now, I've got Christ is Back actually loaded onto deck number 2 here, and Yah sings onto deck number 1. I converted the files to an MP3 and uploaded them to our music library now. Soundtrack. Yeah, I'm
just getting pushed aside.
Day by day, I still can't figure out why. Like when I play these, I can't hear it because of the microphone in, and I can't get around it. I can only watch the time on it and guess, which is annoying. I'd like to be able to hear it. But, well, anyway. So, what are we going to finish the show with? Christ is Back? Heiko, or do you want to...
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, I've got it set to go now. We can't hear this, but the audience can, so that's all that matters. Just got to start. Later, Gators. Talk to you tomorrow. Have another rant about something else.
It was a good one today.
You liked it? Good? Oh, okay. It's good to have a good rant.
Yeah, it's just
you're going to play...
Yeah, it is. It's playing now, and I'm going to mute the microphone.
Huh?
I'm going to mute the microphone. Yeah, well, I've already said goodbye, because people are still hearing us. So we've already said goodbye. I'll pull the microphone out, and we will hear what's being...
Pull the microphone here?
Yeah. No, well, it records straight from the deck. It records straight from the deck. Yeah. So, later, Gators, again. Yeah, later, Gators. We are so amateurish.
Who gonna reign on earth as the righteous king? Just said to me the name of this man. His name is Jesus Christ. He will come back again. So I said to John, I love you, my father. I want to stay with you forever. And I promise watching him for a little while. Christ is back. Christ is back on earth. 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 So turn your back on the devil, man. Who is hurting I and I? 'Cause together with the devil, man. Man, the sun will never shine here. Until I found it on the World Wide Web. The man called Mr. Marshall. And I knew just after watching him for a little while. Christ is back. Christ is back on earth. 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 Christ is back. His name is Brian.